women do not benefit from marriage. Is this fact or fiction? And this came up because we saw a clip of a woman stating that women do not benefit from marriage, or at least modern marriage, and she pointed out some things such as the fact that men live longer than married women. She also points out how women are now providers as well. And so therefore that need to have a provider in a relationship no longer exists per se. And so I'm just curious, what are y'all thoughts? Do we no longer benefit from marriage?
I don't know, thoughtful person on this panel is going to say disagree with this disgusting thing. Who would do such a thing? Who would agree with this? Anyone? Bueller?
I will.
No, you can't just...
some context, but we'll wait for that. I don't necessarily agree with this as a married woman. However, I would be more than happy to speak from some of the commentary that I've heard.
Okay, so for clarification, did she say that women don't benefit at all, or it's not as beneficial? Because I feel like to say don't benefit at all is a hard thing. Like, did you say that, or... Because I'm trying to understand. Does anybody agree with that?
So she's basically saying that women don't benefit. It's not as beneficial to women to get married in today's times, basically. So that's basically what she's saying. It's not that we don't benefit at all, but we don't benefit. It's not beneficial enough.
Well, I think because the part that I think when she compared it to the guys, it was like clearly she was making the case that marriage is more beneficial to men because married men versus single men show up a particular way, right? And she was comparing that. And I think she was also making the point that married women compared to single women, to your point, right, in regards to statistics. So I guess she was kind of saying that, I guess you're trying to correlate that to say that marriage isn't as beneficial. Like it's better to be single than it is to be married. I guess that's what I was kind of getting from what she was saying.
So that's also what my take was, because the correlation between the married man and the single man, and then the married woman and the single woman, was that basically single women still report being happier and so forth compared to married women. And then adding the statistic that married men live longer, which is actually interesting because in marriages, the men actually, even though they live longer than single men, they still have a tendency to die before their wives. So I thought that was interesting as well. But yeah, so she's basically just saying it's not as beneficial. So it sounds like that's why I'm like, is it fact or fiction here?
I mean, I'll just say this one stat that got missed was that 47% of single women lie about how happy they are in not being in relationships. So I think that would probably throw that out the statistics.
That's what we're doing now. I love it.
Well, hold on.
It sounds reasonable.
Her stats aren't made up. I mean, who are these women that she's talking to?
They actually did a study on women happiness. And so I read it a while
It's self-reported
ago.
though, right?
And so, yes, it is.
Exactly. Which is why I said 47% of women in those reports lie.
Telling you what they want you to hear. They say comparison is the thief of joy. And I think this is a part of that. I think people always want what they don't have. And so, of course, the single people look over at married people and go, man, if I was married, I'd move like this because marriage is this. And married people go, man, if I was single again, I'd probably do this or that. I don't think that anybody, if somebody has it better, it's simply because if someone has it better, it's because they went into it knowing what they wanted out of it, right? And making sure they had those things when they went in. And if not, they stayed there in mind for the things that they wanted. They worked into the thing until it was fulfilling. So unless she's measuring a person's will, that she's saying women are somehow less willing to work for it to be better, and therefore they're better off not working to begin with, I think her whole argument is spurious. I think it's that, hey, I'm looking over at somebody else's happiness, trying to measure my own. She's saying, okay, men live longer, men get benefits, whatever. She's like, where are my benefits? Your benefit is companionship. Your benefit is having somebody who holds you down, because the single person doesn't quite have that. They may have a bevy of best friends, and that's beautiful. And sometimes in my life, I thought maybe that was all I needed, was just to have a bunch of best friends. You want somebody that's with you for the long haul, right? And in that thing, I don't see where there's a comparison. I think time and chance happens to everybody. I think this lady was looking for a stat and reached up and grabbed one out the air because she couldn't put her hands on a man. Go ahead.
I'll play devil's advocate a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that marriage is beneficial to both men and women. in similar instances, living longer, shared income, split up the household, all that good stuff. I think the difference, I would say, is I think women go through more dealing with the man and his outside activities in a lot of cases, having to put up with things, whether it's scuttlebutt or fact, but dealing with the coming home late or the other woman potentially, or with the fellas, or just having more time outside the home and less time together as a couple. And sometimes women become shells of themselves because they have to um, limit their light and make themselves smaller just to keep the family together, but they're not happy per se. And I think it happens to women more than men. Not saying it doesn't happen to men, but I think women have to deal with men roaming more so, or have to accept a man's behavior because they're boys being boys.
I think women actually benefit a great deal. You know who says so? The U.S. Census Bureau. And you can check all the numbers. You're far less likely as a woman today and going back historically to live in poverty if you're a married woman. I know women that got the boss babe thing now and everybody's, doing their thing. And that's true in some cases, but overall, you're far less likely to be in poverty if you're a woman, especially if you're a woman with children. So it does benefit economically from the two-parent household standpoint. And you know what? A lot of guys, if you had to hire a handyman, an exterminator, there's a lot of things that go on around the house too that men take care of. So that's a benefit too. Like me, I do free tech support at the house. She doesn't have to call the Geek Squad. I'm just taking care of it. I probably got a bug right now I need to go take care of that they want killed. So I think it does benefit women, and I think it's cap. I don't. Could you argue less? Maybe, maybe. But you know what? Women fought to be in the corporate world and be boss babes and work 9 to 5 or whatever their shift is. Women fought for that. So if that's the issue, then I don't know. Sucks to suck. That's you guys spent 50 years fighting for that. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, is it a benefit? I mean, I could get a roommate that could do those same things. I don't have to be married to that person for him to split the bills or come and fix something in the house, or she. It could be a female roommate. So is that really a benefit, that you could turn a wrench and that you have a job and you help me pay the bills?
Yeah. Is that a real question?
Somebody got to turn the wrench.
No, what I'm saying is that he's saying that it's a benefit in marriage, but I can get that same benefit outside of marriage. It's not like it's exclusive to marriage, is my point.
I would disagree a little bit. Can you get it consistently outside of marriage? Can you get it like in terms of like the commitment of it
24/7?
Because it's like, I think, just to assume that, yes, I can do certain, you can call somebody, you can do TaskRabbit, sure. But like, there's more to that person. And so I think what the people have been saying, at least what I've heard, is that what the person brings to a relationship is hard to quantify. So if you're trying to quantify and say, oh, this is a way that it's not a benefit to you, then I think that's where we kind of get into the weeds a little bit, right? Because it's not just about like the fixing of things around the home. I think Jay mentioned companionship, somebody to talk to, right? But I feel like we be letting white women do this. Let me correct myself. Y'all be letting white women do this to y'all. This is almost like a perfect example of how y'all would let white feminist talking points affect how you choose to look at a situation. Because when she was talking about statistics, maybe she's right, but she was a white woman talking to another white woman. So I'd have to imagine that when she talks statistics, she's also including white women. Right. And I wonder how much the numbers change because, brothers, man, diabetes, all the other shit that kills us, police. Right. So this idea that somehow we're living longer than our wives is not for real. Right. And then I would love to see specifically how Shaquan, is doing without Daquan. Like, I want to see those specific stats. But what I'm saying is that what Black women will hear is this fucking rhetoric and believe it.